Hello, everyone. This is Lisa Rose, and we have Ron Hache here today with us. He is the president of the Canadian Physique Alliance and the IFBB in Canada. Really exciting to have you on board today because, Ron, your history dates back right to 1972 with the Pro League, with the IFBB as an athlete, and then transitioning into judging, I think, around 1976. But one of the reasons why we got you on today is you are a world of knowledge. You've had almost half a century experience. You know, you were the person that was right back when it first started. So you know the sport intimately and on every single level as well. And you've got a lot of exciting stuff to share with us today that's going to excite a lot of our women competitors. But we also wanted to learn a little bit about yourself, the history of yourself in the sport, and what you're doing at the moment in Canada. So, Ron, thanks for having us, and thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you for the nice welcome, and yeah, it's great to be on this program. So a little bit of history on myself. Yeah, like yourselves, I was a competitor. That's where it all started. You know, at that time, I was actually working at a club called Vic Tanny's, which goes back way back into the 60s. But I did compete, you know, back in 1970 in bodybuilding, of course. And at that time, that's all we had in the sport was men's bodybuilding, and we've come such a long way since then. But I did compete as a bodybuilder, and from there went into training athletes, you know, owning a gym. All that time I was a firefighter, but was able to work as a gym owner and a trainer.
Wow.
And from there continued in the sport, but more on the official side of it. So I did promote some little regional shows back then, but I was also an official. So continued doing that, and that's when I got involved with the IFBB Pro League. Had an opportunity to do some shows in the U.S. and in Mexico, and then finally made my way to the IFBB Pro League in terms of judging pro shows. So it's been a great road there, but I was able to touch on all of these areas, you know, a competitor, a trainer, a promoter, an executive in the sport here in Canada, and a judge. So I feel like I have some knowledge in all those areas only because I actually participated in all those areas rather than just one area. So now, you know, in Canada, we've done the transition and become the Canadian Physique Alliance, which is the umbrella of the NPC. And, you know, right now in Canada, we have over 60 shows a year that we oversee in Canada.
Oh,
so, you know, it's really amazing. Every province in Canada has competitions. We have natural and open events, of course. And we've really grown into a nice community here in Canada. And it is the epicenter. I mean, this is where Joe and Ben Weider were born here in Montreal, Quebec. Joe went to the US. Ben Weider stayed here in 1946. They started the IFBB International. And then Joe worked the US part. Ben Weider worked in Canada and then became an ambassador, went around the world to promote the IFBB International. And the sport just grew from there. So we have a special relationship with the US, but also with Australia. So we've always been great partners. And I think we can share some knowledge, and I can answer some questions and you know, what's happening in terms of judging or in terms of the future in the sport here in Canada and in the US from where I see it going. And I've been very, very fortunate. I've been invited to judge the Olympia. I've been invited to judge the Arnolds, you know, and I promote 5 shows in France now with a partner, and we have a pro show in France that I do. So I am getting, you know, I want to promote the sport, and I speak French, so I've had that opportunity, and the IFBB Pro League has the confidence in myself to promote it in another country like France. So
you're certainly not
I really
slowing
feel
down.
we're expanding the sport.
Yeah.
So So that's a little bit about myself and what I've been doing.
Look, Ron, I was just saying to Rose, like, you're certainly not slowing down. That's for sure. You're only starting to gear up. And it's amazing because when we were off air, and this is something that, you know, we said we'd love to bring to the forefront of the sport, is you've seen how much the women divisions have grown, and how excited you are to see kind of like the reignition of figure and even bodybuilding, and that's a real hub in Canada at the moment as well. Like, you produce some of the most amazing physiques in the world when it comes to bodybuilding, and every other category as well. Like even with your show on the weekend, you know, we had the chance to actually see that, you know.
Yeah, so that was great.
It was amazing. And, you
Well,
know,
thank you for bringing that up. I totally agree with you on what's happening in North America and around the world. And you know, I'm so proud of what we're doing over here, and I try to influence everybody. But we were speaking a while ago about the resurgence of the figure category and the women. And as you're aware, I've been running the Toronto Pro Show, and it was called the Toronto Pro Super Show. Every category, from wheelchair to, you know, figure, bikini, wellness, you know, fitness, we had every pro category at that event. And we never gave them up, you know, so we kept going with all the categories. But I found that this year there seems to be a resurgence in the figure category, not only in the amateurs, but in the IFBB Pro League also. And it seems to be a category that just seemed to be the right fit for this era in the sport. And I'm really excited about that. You know, we love the bikini category. They've been strong for many, many years, and they continue to be strong. But I see the resurgence in figure, and even in the women's physique and women's bodybuilding. And we can talk about why that's happening.
I would like to. I'd like to know why you would, like, from your point of view, why you think that this is actually happening now.
I think what's happening now is that the judges at the IFBB Pro League level are rewarding those with the beautiful physiques, and the women are excited about that. I mean, you look at the women's figure category now, and there's a big resurgence in that. And you know, when you go to the Olympia and you see the women that are winning, aesthetic, beautiful, that X factor, beautiful round shoulders, nice wide lats, nice small waist. And they just have that perfect physique. And I almost compare it to the classic physique look, like the Chris Bumstead. But the figure for women, the figure look is like the classic physique look. It's just a beautiful aesthetic, well-balanced, well-defined, but not overdeveloped physique that the women really love to have. And I think that's why the figure competitors are getting more and more involved, where, you know, at one time, the look was not that kind of look. So the judges are rewarding that type of physique, and the ones that are winning have that type of physique. Now the women's physique category, and same thing. They're beautiful. They have beautiful lines, and they're coming in fuller and bigger, but womanly and beautiful. You know, I can't believe, you know, the skin tones, the beautiful look that the women are showing us, especially in the women's physique category.
Yes.
Now we'll go to the women's bodybuilding category. Again, another, like the women's bodybuilding, I got to give all those women credit, even though I've kept that category with the Toronto Pro Show for the last 12 years. Never gave up on them. You know, back in the day, the women that were rewarded in women's bodybuilding years ago were a lot bigger, a lot harder. Now the ones that are being rewarded are coming with that beautiful full look, still that womanly look, but it's encouraging the women's bodybuilders to continue doing it. And you know, we got some great promoters like Jake Wood, who obviously held on to them and said, you know, don't give up on the sport. And now he's got it at the Olympia. So all the women categories, and you know, bikini, I don't even have to talk about. It's just a beautiful category, and that's just going to continue to grow. And even this year at the Olympia, you notice that the bikini competitors are coming in with that beautiful look, not as hard. And again, the judges are rewarding it the right way to encourage the bikini competitors to have that nice look.
Because Maureen is
And,
perfect. Yeah.
yeah, and some of the bikini competitors who like to train hard with weights are kind of going into the women's figure categories, and it's the categories that are picking the women.
the athlete.
Categories are
Yeah.
picking the women. And you know, yourselves, I know you're both IFBB pros in the figure category. So proud of you, both of you, in being in that category, because it's such a technical category. You know, you got to be perfect. You know, everything's got to be in balance. You got to have the right combination of condition and fullness without being too hard and yet not being too soft. So that's a great category for women to be in now. And the figure category has a big resurgence. So I'm really excited on the pro level on where that's going. And I'm excited about the judges who are rewarding the right people. And you'll see it again this year at the Olympia. They're going to be rewarding those types of physique. So
and you're going to be judging at the
very
Olympia.
proud of seeing it going.
And
I'm sorry.
You're going to be judging at the Olympia this year.
Oh yes, I've been judging it every year for the last 10 years. So likely I'll be there judging also. So I'm looking forward to perhaps seeing one of you two on stage or both of you there. But it's such a great goal to try to get yourself there. And we both know it's about the journey, and it's about the incentive to get to the gym to reach a goal. And that whole journey there is really part of it. And you're going to hit some pro shows, and who knows, hopefully you're going to win some and get to where you want to be. But I'm sure I'm going to see you either at the amateur, at the pro Masters Olympia, or at the Open Olympia in Florida this year. But
I'll mark it right now, Ron.
It's exciting times.
You'll see one.
It is exciting.
Definitely see us there, one or the other.
Yeah, it is exciting times in the sport, and there are new things happening all the time. They're always trying to be more creative to attract the average person. I mean, a lot of those athletes, these amateur athletes, and as I mentioned, we have over 60 shows here in Canada, and they're, these novice and true novice competitors. And we got these moms that raised their children, and now they're 50 and over, and they're hitting, they're going on stage. They're trying new things, and they're doing something for themselves. They've given to their family. So we're really helping a lot of those women and men, but let's talk about the women, who want to get out of that box, who want to get on that stage, who want to challenge themselves, and they look really great, and they're inspiring other women to do the same thing. So
absolutely,
it's just great to see.
And, one of the things that we really wanted to talk about today, in line with, that as well, is the natural show, the natural NPC IFBB show that you've got as well, which is an O Qualifier, which is something that both Rose and I hold very close to our hearts, because we've been in this sport for so long, and we've seen the evolution of it. And, it's what route you choose to go down, on your journey, whether it's, going open and it's, assisted or unassisted as a natural, is each to their own. And in most cases, natural and open, we don't care, we just cross over. But you've got this natural show, which just blew our minds.
Yeah, we were had not heard about it.
Please,
let's talk about that a little bit.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
I know that there are a lot of athletes here in Australia that would be jumping out of their skin right now to listen to this, and to have such an opportunity available for those that really just want to be measured up against that that lineup.
Well, the natural movement is just here in Canada, and I know it's going to happen, and the US are doing it also, and we've been talking closely with them, and they're watching what we're doing. And of course, the natural movement here in Canada has been growing for many, many years, because we've been cultivating it for the last 10 years. The membership percentage is about 40% of the members compete in natural, and about 60% compete in open. And a lot of them compete in both natural and open, especially bikini and figure. It just, when you got those beautiful genetics, it doesn't matter. But let me say this about the natural movement. for the last 3 years, we've been running called the Ben Weider Natural Pro Show, the only natural pro show in the world right now. It's the first one, but trust me, there's going to be many more. And the IFBB Pro League decided, listen, if we're going to get some pros going to this natural pro show, we want to give them an opportunity to go to the Olympia. So the winners from that natural pro show get to step on the Olympia stage. And what's happening is a lot of the male and female pros who have been there, they've done it, and they kind of like retired, and now they're trained, they're staying healthy, they look good, are competing in the natural pro show because it's an opportunity for them to perhaps get back on that Olympia stage. And it's about getting on the Olympia stage. They don't care. They're natural, they look great. They get to go on that stage, and they get the bragging rights later on when they go back home. Yeah, I competed at the Olympia. I was on that stage. So the natural movement is definitely a movement that is growing in Canada. And we do the drug testing and we do everything right. And the athletes have a lot of confidence in us that we're doing it right. And now I see it happening also in the US. They've always had NPCs, always had natural shows, but now they're increasing it because it's a qualifier to the natural pro qualifier, which is at the Ben Weider. And that Ben Weider show, by the way, they have a natural pro qualifier along with it. So if you get your pro card as a natural, you can compete in the Ben Weider Pro Show. So it's being held in Virginia. It's called the Ben Weider Natural. It first happened here in Canada. A little history: we ran it in Canada in the auditorium in Quebec, in Montreal, Canada, where Ben Weider ran his first competition.
Wow.
There was a lot of history. So we made it happen. We called it the Ben Weider Natural. There was a lot of history with this theater, and this is where we ran the first Ben Weider Natural Pro Show and Natural Pro Qualifier. And then from there, we moved it to Virginia because COVID hit here in Canada and we were able to still run it in Virginia. We're hoping to bring it back in Canada and maybe run it back and forth, but it's got very, very great success in Virginia. It's open worldwide. So, if you're a natural athlete and say in your country, there's no natural events there, it's up to that country to promote a natural regional show to qualify you. But if there's none, you can go directly to that natural pro qualifier. So it's encouraging other countries to run these natural regional shows so they can at least qualify. But if there's no natural regional show, well, that natural athlete has an opportunity to go directly to a natural pro qualifier. So, I see it happening now, even in France. As I mentioned, we're running shows there. We're running a natural show there because the athletes want to qualify.
They want to qualify.
They want to qualify at a natural show. And that's what we want. We want the natural athletes to follow that line, do a natural show, and then go right to the natural pro qualifier.
And so that sort of tells me, Ron, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the league has noticed that there is a growing body of people who want to stay like down the natural road, and that's their choice, which is great. But there's actually a market for that now.
You hit the nail on the head. There is a great market for it. And in Canada, like I said, we've been doing it for many, many years, and the market has grown. NPC USA is doing it. Gary Udit is one of the promoters out there. Actually, we are partners running this natural Ben Weider Pro Show. And a lot of the regional shows are now being promoted in the US with the NPC. So a lot of the competitors who have been wanting to compete with NPC in the natural stream will now have an opportunity. And I just know Australia is going to jump on this, and other countries around the world are going to jump on it also. And it's beginning to happen now. So, we're working hand in hand, natural or open, it doesn't matter. It's your road to the Olympia. But the Ben Weider Natural Pro Show is like the natural Olympia in my eyes. That's what I like to see happen. You got the Joe Weider Olympia, and then you got the Ben Weider Natural. And
That's
as you
so
know, Ben
great.
Weeder, for many, many years, Ben Weeder was always trying to get the sport in the Olympics, and it was always his goal. And he tried, he did everything possible. And you know, they got everything else in the Olympics, but we couldn't get the bodybuilding sport in it. But this
Yeah,
year, I think, is an avenue to say, hey, Ben Weeder, we haven't given up on you. We're going to have a natural pro show, and we're going to
yeah.
have a natural event that's going to be like the Ben Weeder Olympia, let's just say, just like we had the Joe Weeder Olympia. And I know it's heading in that direction, you know,
Gosh,
and
that's
I'm just
great.
glad to be
It
part of
is.
it.
And that's the evolution as well of the
Mm.
sport, where previously people like, well, you know, the physiques are getting bigger, more dramatic, more assisted in some sense. And I think maybe this is something that we do want to touch on, which is a little bit of a sidestep as well, is longevity in the sport. Like both Rose and I have been in it, you know, I've been in it for over 2 decades, and, you know, it took me a long time to get my pro card. But you know, instead of, you know, some of the natural athletes sometimes may get deterred because you've got
Yes.
other athletes by choice, no judgment at all, that choose to be assisted. And then they're looking at these physiques that are on stage, and like I said, they're very dramatic and incredible. And then they want to speed that process up, and they may go down a route without fully investigating the pros and the cons of that route, and then find themselves in a situation where there's health issues, or now they're overdeveloped for the category,
The category that they
and
wanted.
they've lost that aesthetic, that beauty, that femininity of the sport as well. So in terms of that, Ron, how do you see, or what do the judges like yourself, being an Olympia judge, when you're looking at that level all the way down to an NPC level, what is it that you're looking at when you're on stage? And can you see the difference in when people have taken it too far, even without them saying?
You know, I do see the difference, but I'll tell you what, some of the athletes that are coming on stage, the natural athletes that have those beautiful genetics, you know, it's hard to tell whether or not they're enhanced, but that natural movement, they have the opportunity to do both. And and the way we're judging the shows now tends to let the athlete know, listen, you don't have to go to those extreme levels. And
In other words,
even in the pro league, you know,
yeah.
the judging has changed, and the extreme levels that we used to have aren't as prevalent as they were in the past. But the natural movement, you know, even those athletes that have competed, and you know, I talked to an athlete, his name is Henderson Thorne. He's an old athlete, he's in his 60s. He won some pro shows, and he looks fantastic. He's natural. He hasn't done anything for the last 8 years. He looks good. He's healthy. He said, Ron, I got to do that natural pro show. You know, he's excited to know that there's still an opportunity for him. And you know, he's got great genetics, and he's going to do well as a bodybuilder in his 60s.
That's
So
so
it could be, yeah, it could be a lifelong goal. I mean, maybe you're going to peak as an open competitor at a certain age, and then, you know, you're going to say, okay, I'm just going to train athletes. I'm going to continue being involved in the sport. I'm going to continue training healthy. Well, now that particular athlete can come back and possibly do a natural pro show. And then there's those athletes that are natural that will just compete in that natural line. And that's fantastic. So it's attracting the general public. Everybody can get involved.
That's so
you know.
wonderful too. And I think, you know, I was so excited to hear about that, because I don't think any bodybuilder's ready to hang up their togs or their heels, are we? We're bodybuilders for life. We never want to give it up. And I can see when, you know, you've seen athletes that have retired, you know, how sad they are. And you know that they're not done. They want to come back for sure.
The heart is still in it. They still want to do
Yeah.
it. So there's an opportunity for them to come back. And now that we have these masters category, which is fantastic. And I know in the natural movement, things are building up. They're going to grow. And I just know there's going to be more natural shows, natural pro shows. And the IFBB Pro League recognizes that. The NPC recognizes that also, and is encouraging us in Canada to continue doing what we're doing and continue spreading the good word on promoting, the sport. So we're going to keep it growing. And I think whether it's open or natural, we're in a good place right now for the sport. Around the world, NPC worldwide, I mean, you can compete anywhere now. You can compete, in a pro show in Europe or in Australia or in Asia, in China, in Colombia, US. There are shows all over the place. And here in Canada, it's a large country like Australia. You can compete as a regional competitor anywhere in Canada. To go from one province from east to west, it's a 5-hour flight and you're still in the same country. So a lot of the athletes get an opportunity not only to compete in their own little hometown, but a lot of these regional athletes get to compete in other communities and get to experience that.
I think that's
but
amazing.
The amateur athletes is really what's keeping the sport together, and leading up to the pro league. But the amateur athletes is really what's sustaining the sport. And the direction that we're heading now is attracting those natural and open athletes.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I think that's the key, isn't it? I mean, it's great to see, because I love bodybuilding. I love the IFBB. We Lisa and I, we started this podcast to give back, as a way of giving back to, a sport and a league that has given us so much. Just emotionally, even. I mean, as a female who starts weight training and then is able to get to a level where they're competing, and then they are able to progress through the ranks. I mean, the emotional and spiritual growth alone as a female is just amazing, and that's why I'm so passionate about getting more people into the sport. I want to attract people, bring them in, because it's changed our lives so much, and we want to share that with other women and say, you can do this too. I can do it. Anybody can do it. And so having that avenue of both natural and unassisted, I think that's just brilliant, because there probably has been a perception in the past that, oh, it's too hard, I can't do that. But then opening it up to more and people seeing that, oh, well, there's actually a natural, and it's that's what they're doing. Maybe I can have a go at this.
Lisa, Rose, I'll tell you what, this sport has saved lives. It has saved lives. It really has. Whether it's somebody coming off an addiction or having mental issues, we don't know how many lives we've saved. And they get in, they start training with weights, whether you're bikini, figure, wellness, bodybuilding, you're all training with weights. These bikini competitors are training hard. They're doing, they're working their legs, they're doing these squats, they're working their glutes. The wellness competitors are doing the same. A lot of these competitors at the amateur level are getting involved with this sport, and it's saving their lives. If they have an addictive personality, get addicted to this.
My God, yes.
This is what's going to save you. And it has. I can tell you so many stories from so many athletes that, they were saved because they were able to get involved with the sport. They were able to train. It helped them mentally. It helped them break their addiction. So it's not only for the average normal people like us, it's also for all of those that need help. And we're the ones that are going to get them involved.
And I will testify to that, Ron, because I was one of those people that the sport saved. In my earlier years competing, it was an eating disorder. In my later years, around 2015, when my son was born, he was born with half a heart. And I've talked about this story before on the podcast. He was given a 1% chance of survival. And I remember that, we were in hospital for 2 to 3 years in a row, and he has had 7 open heart surgeries. There's been cardiac arrest. There's been pacemakers inserted. There's been a stroke, and multiple times where I almost lost my kid. And I remember the only thing that kept me going was training on the floor in the hospital ward with my little dumbbells and my TheraBands. And, when I had that 1 hour off, I jumped to Joey's gym up in Brunswick in Victoria, and I'd do my hour session in there and come back. And, then in 2018, I competed after having 3 years off in my first IFBB, Arnold Classics it was back then. And I continued doing that in 2019 when the same thing happened. And then again in 2020 when we closed down and, Melbourne had the worst lockdowns in the world. And my son had to go back into hospital. I trained still in that format because I knew, I wanted to get on that stage and prove my son that it doesn't matter what life throws at you, that, under the adversity of everything that gets thrown at you in life, that as long as you hold on to something and you have hope and you strive through that, you can prevail. And that year for me was last year when I finally got on stage after 51 shows and all of Kai's surgeries, and now he's healthy, which is great. And I remember seeing him in the crowd, Ron, and he was yelling out, and Rose, you were in the crowd too. And
oh my God.
He's like, that's my mum.
That's my mummy. And he's like, just ecstatic in the crowd, and he's standing up on his chair and he's clapping for his mummy, and then he runs on stage when she gets the pro card. And I mean, moments like that are just priceless. Moments like that for a family, like it's a family sport too, because if mum's doing well, kids are doing well, if mum's mental health is on track, everyone in the family is running well as well. And, you've proven to your son, mummy can do it all. And that's a great role model for life, isn't it? To have him, to have him look up to. But yeah, I mean, it was so emotional. I
couldn't care whether I got first or last, just to hear that voice. And it was a whole flashback where I could see him in the hospital bed and he was incubated and, he was in induced coma and everything like that. Then to see him out in the crowd in the front row behind the judges yelling my name out, it was the best moment of my life, as a mum and an athlete. So whatever happened, I was done. I had won. So I can understand where you're coming from.
Well, that's a beautiful story. And really, there's nothing better than that type of story. And we hear these types of stories all the time.
Yeah.
But really, that's like winning the Olympia. Really, it really is.
It really is.
And you're going to continue working out and continue staying involved with the sport and staying healthy. And I do see children in the audience cheering their moms on. We had one competition last year. We had father, daughter, and son competing in the same competition. And the son and the daughter both got their pro cards, and the father competed, and I think he came in 10th. So there's a lot of family stuff going on, And these three individuals were from Quebec. And we did a story in the newsletter, in our Canadian Physique Alliance newsletter about it. So there's a lot of inspiring stories just like yours. And that's what gets them started. And sometimes the goal for them, for a lot of these competitors, and I know that I go to a lot of the meetings and, I tell the competitors who's first time competitors and they all put their hands up. Many are there for their own personal reasons. It's not necessarily because they want to get to the Olympia.
No, that's so true. Yeah.
They just want to get on that stage, prove something to themselves. And once they get that taste of it, then they won't let it go. But, for whatever reason that they got there to get on that stage to prove to themselves that they can do it and give them confidence. Then from there, they get the bug. They want to continue doing it. They start training on a regular basis. And like I said, it does save lives. And it's that's why I'm involved with the sport. And I surround myself with people like yourselves. People ask me like, Ron, like, why don't you retire? I'll never retire. This is not work. This is my life. This is what I love doing.
This is your passion.
I'm
That's
not
what
ready
you
to
love.
sit on the beach in Florida, or play golf. This is what I enjoy doing. Surround myself with people like yourselves. We're all on the same page. We all have, the same attitude, and we've all struggled with certain things, whether it be large or small.
Yeah, we're
But
all
we all have
human.
our own reasons for being involved. And I've been involved, 40, 50 years. I've been involved
50
for 50 years. I mean,
Wow.
my first competition was 50 years ago.
That's
And I
so
still got friends from 50 years ago when I first competed that I'm still in touch with.
And that's
So,
amazing.
oh,
yeah, I'll always be involved.
That's what we spoke
Yeah,
about before off air. It's like you got your future, your fun, and your friends. And, if you choose to be a part of the sport and contribute, and your finances all rolled in one in the sport. Like some people go off and they build coaching businesses and then, put athletes through. There's been a huge surgence of promoters coming through, new promoters coming through wanting to promote shows. A lot of women as well. Like you've got, Oksana, then you've got the Triple O dynasty with Sid Gillen and Whitney, who already does her classic over there, Andrea Shaw. So there's a lot of women as well now, like bring another different element to the sport from a promoter's point of view. And I think that's amazing as well, seeing that, and, seeing people like yourself, I'm sure that there's so many people that look up to you, and there are, because we got wind of you through your own members.
Yes.
Your own members in Canada.
They were the ones who reached out to us and said, you must talk to Ron. He has so much knowledge. He has so much experience, and he is the history of this sport. He's intertwined in that history of this sport. And, I just have to say thank you on behalf of all the women in our league that you were mentioning before, that you have supported women and the women categories, and you've kept them in your competitions, and that's just so great. It gives us a platform to go and stand on a stage and to showcase our physiques. And I think you're just have a great a lot of respect out there in the bodybuilding community.
Well, I'll tell you what, I surround myself with a lot of good people, and really that's what it's all about. What makes me look good is the people around me. Okay, they're so supportive, and and that's why we're very successful here in Canada, and I'm sure same thing in Australia and in the US. But I feel it is a community of athletes, of promoters, of officials, and we kind of all have to work together to make the sport work. It's just not one person. I'm not just the one person that makes it work. I'm just one spoke on that wheel, but I'm surrounded by a lot of good people, a lot of good judges, and so many good volunteers that they're involved in the sport because they just not for the money. They just want to give back to the
part of that
sport.
community and give back,
And they want to be part of it. They want to be part of something. They really do. And even though they may not be competing, they still want to surround themselves with those positive athletes that are competing, and everybody kind of feels that warm vibe, and gets them motivated. I mean, after the Toronto Pro Show, I'm sure the gyms are just packed. Everybody's all excited, after seeing that event. And it's just very motivational. It really is.
Tell us about the show. How did it go? You just run a very successful show last weekend, wasn't it?
I'm glad you brought that up, because last weekend, we had a pro qualifier along with the pro show.
Yes.
And, we had 370 entries in the amateur. We had 100 more athletes this year in the amateur division. It really is picking up since COVID has kind of like behind. Everybody was so excited to be there. We had the exhibitors there, and we gave out 20 pro cards. Many of those pros got their pro cards on Saturday and competed on Sunday. And I want to relate the story that last year, one of those athletes got his pro card from Quebec. He was a classic physique fella, got his pro card on Saturday, competed in the pro show on the Sunday, won the pro show,
Oh my
went to
God.
Olympia that year. I mean, it's a dream come true. And many of those competitors that got their pro card on Saturday did compete. They got that opportunity to perhaps win that competition and go to the Olympia. But just being on stage with the pros for the first time was truly a great experience for anybody that was on that stage. It was a great event. We had some great athletes. A lot of Canadian pros, won their pro card or won the pro show and got to qualify to the Olympia. And that's really what the goal is, and some of them, I'm giving them their check, and it really wasn't about getting that, a little bit of money that they're getting for winning. It was about getting to the Olympia. Really, that was their goal. And going back to that natural Ben Weir, the same deal there, the natural pro show, which, the IFBB Pro League authorized that the winners from that show should be able to go to the Olympia. And they made it happen.
That.
So
I think that
there's all kinds of opportunities.
And I love
and that's
so many. I was just saying, I love that there are so many opportunities now on such different facets, whether you're a natural, whether you're in an open, whether you're a master, as well, to be able to make it to that level.
Yes, absolutely. And you're mentioning that, you got your pro card that, so late, but, women are getting their pro cards in their 50s and they're competing and they're loving it. And they look like they're 30. They look so fantastic. So, it's just great. It's great for their confidence, and it's great that they're influencing other people to let them know that, hey, anybody can do this. And, and you don't know when you're on that stage, you don't really know, you're playing it forward. You don't really know who you're influencing in the audience. Somebody may never speak to you. You never met them, but because you were on stage, you made a beautiful presentation, and you're 40 years old, and some lady in the audience is going to pick up on that and maybe change her life around. You just don't know who you've influenced, or you played it forward and you don't even realize it. So
I love that.
You got to think of those things when you're on stage, and especially you have a goal and you want to reach it. You're going to compete, and at the same time, you're sending out those beautiful vibes, influencing those other people to possibly, get themselves in shape. You're going to save some lives. So that's the way I look at the sport. I really do. And that's why I stay involved with it. And I'll just continue doing it.
I love that as well. And, we talked about, the evolution of the sport, but more importantly, I want to know from your own experience, how would you like to see this sport over the next 5 years? Like, what would you like to see happen?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Listen, on the natural movement, of course, I want to see that to continue to grow. I like to see more natural pro shows. It's going to happen eventually. And I see that movement just continually grow. And on the pro part of it and on the open events, it's just a great sport. And I believe where we are now, where the judging is where the direction is going now, it's a healthy direction for the sport, especially for the women. And there's more and more beautiful women that are getting on board, and everybody is accepting it. They're seeing it that it's more and more normal, where years ago it was off to the side, but now it's more open. Movie stars are doing it. Everybody is training, and even models are looking more athletic nowadays.
I love seeing that.
Yeah, I think if we can maintain that direction, and where we are now is a good place, but we'll see where the Olympia is going to bring us in the future. But I really do believe that the sport is getting healthier as we continue growing it. As we continue growing it. As a judge, I really sense that we're heading in that direction. So I'm just going to continue promoting health and wellness, continue promoting those young athletes. And when I get these young kids calling me wanting to get involved with the sport, mom and dad's calling me, and I'm encouraging them, yes, get them involved. It's just a great sport. We got the wheelchair competitors competing at my show.
Great. I love watching them.
Yeah, and they got some great stories on how they were able to succumb to being in a wheelchair and work out, and they have a goal in life. And we have all kinds of athletes competing, blind athletes, athletes that are deaf that are coming on stage. They all want to participate. So we try to open the doors to everybody. We even had a pro athlete who competed in Toronto, who placed in the top 5 in the classic physique, who has no legs below
I
the
saw
knees, so he
him.
had to have these
Oh
stilts
my
on.
God, yes, he was
And he was, oh
amazing.
my, his
Yes, his
physique
He
name
was
is Edgar,
so-
and he's from France, and he even promotes a show with myself in France. So
oh,
isn't that encouraging and great to see? But
he was in,
listen, there was like
oh,
12, I think 12 pro athletes in that classic physique category, and he came in the
huge.
top 5. So just
Yeah.
to show you that the judges recognize that.
Yeah,
judges
I could not
recognize that.
believe how well developed his quads were, given that he's in a wheelchair. I was just like, oh my
or
God,
that he
you
doesn't have any
really,
legs, his
yeah,
Yes.
you know,
glutes, his hammies.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's
quads and
pretty
his glutes were just brilliant. I was like, wow. I actually started to follow him because I was like, I want to see how you've developed your physique with your limitations to that extent. That is some crazy good training and some,
very, very creative training, but also
Yes.
inspiring. Isn't it
Yeah.
inspiring to other athletes?
absolutely. And the accessibility you were talking about, and really branching out and targeting all types of people, all demographics of people, all walks of life, and being, you can see you're a real promoter of that. And I think that's absolutely incredible. So
Yeah.
we have obviously you to thank for that as well, because you here you are, been in the sport half a century, and there is nothing that you haven't seen. So it's our job to also thank you for
Yes,
your
thank you.
continued contribution to the sport and helping it evolve and the direction of it, because your voice matters.
Well, I'm very humbled, and thank you so much for your compliment. But I'm glad that my voice matters, and I'm hoping that I can continue leading something positive and continue growing. Like I said, I'm just one spoke on the wheel, surrounded by a lot of great people, and we got some great leaders at the IFBB Pro League level. And I'll just continue to support and continue doing what I enjoy doing. And if I can, change things that continue to grow the sport, then I'll feel like I've made a contribution.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I love the fact that it's becoming more mainstream. I'm hearing people talk about bodybuilding more and more and more. And people know what I do now. Like that, they're like, oh, you're a bodybuilder. Oh, I saw something about that, or, so it's great. It's been really good to see.
There's more pride now. There's more pride in what you're doing. There's more, you're proud to mention it there, to say it, or maybe in the past, if you're a bodybuilder, women's physique, or even figure, you kind of were humbled, and now you're proud. It's like, It's like coming out. I'm coming out. I am a figure competitor.
I'm coming out. Here I am.
Yeah.
Here we are.
I'm doing my shopping in my singlet top, so you can see my shoulders.
There you go. Yeah, show those beautiful round shoulders, that beautiful X factor, and let them know that you're proud of what you are, and a lot of them are going to want to do the same thing.
Yes.
And have that beautiful physique and that beautiful look. So it's a great sport. It really is, and I'm just happy to be proud of it. I'm glad that I continued and just didn't let it go. I just fell in love with it, when I was, 18 years old, and just kept doing it, and hopefully do it right till, until I can't anymore. But I'm very fortunate, health-wise, that I'm able to continue, and, and as I said, continue surrounding myself with some great young people that keeps me young and keeps me motivated. So,
Ron,
hopefully we'll get to see you guys on stage also.
We are. We will definitely make the trip to Canada. That's on the list. We
Brilliant.
want to go to every continent and compete on a pro level. And we definitely want to do the natural show as well. That's going to be quite exciting, you know, as well for yourself, Rose. And we just want to thank you for your time and coming on. And we would love to have you back on as well. I know there's a lot more to you than what you've given us in the hour that you've been on here. And, you know, whatever shows that you've got over in the US, please don't hesitate to reach out to Rose and I so we can promote them on Go Figure for you. Like, we see them come up every now and then and we'll share them in the stories and everything like that. But please don't hesitate to reach out. We want to make this a platform where it's your voice that's being heard too, your athletes. We've had athletes from your country on the show as well, like Valerie. We've got Cass tomorrow as well, Gillis on here. So we've got a lot of support from the IFBB community with what we're doing. And we wanted to just extend that to you as well and say thank you so much for taking the time, your nighttime, midweek, to chat with both Rose and I.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. You got a great podcast going, and keep promoting the sport like you're doing. Such a positive thing, and I'll be watching.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. We'll say goodbye off air in a moment, but for everyone, thank you for tuning in. If you've got any questions for Ron, myself, or Rose, please don't hesitate to inbox us, and we will see you soon again with another episode of Go Figure. Thanks, everyone.